So I'm in Chicago at this conference, and after a particularly hard day, I decide to go down to the hotel bar for a drink. And right as I sit up at the bar, this gentleman comes over to me. He's maybe in his 40s, late 30s, white guy with sandy blonde hair, a blazer and jeans, and he looks at me and he says, "Can I buy you a drink?" Now, normally I do not accept drinks from strangers, but I'm like, hey, I'm out of town, why not? Let's see where this goes. And so he says, so I say yes, and he's like, wow, I don't usually have very good luck buying drinks for black women. So I'm like, okay, who starts with that line? But I'm like, coincidentally, the last time a white guy asked me to buy a drink or to ask to buy me a drink, I literally almost got my ass kicked. And he's like, really? So he just kind of settles up next to me like a child waiting for a bedtime story, so I oblige. It was a Friday night, and my brother called. His best friend was having a birthday party right around the corner at Ozio's, and he said, will you come through and hang out with us? And I didn't want to go, but I said, you know what, I'll go, show my face in the place for about an hour, and then head on out. So that's what I did. I got there, had a couple of drinks, had a couple little booty pops and all that, and headed on my way out. So I go down the stairs, and I'm out on the curb waiting for the valet to bring my car, when this child, I swear he was a child, walks up to me and was like, hey, can I buy you a drink? Now, this child looked kind of like Justin Bieber circa 2013, right? So he had denim jeans past his knees, a throwback jersey on, and he had his sandy blonde hair back in cornrows, like 6 cornrows. So I'm like, no, I'm good, thanks, I just came from inside, I'm just waiting on my car. He's like, no, come on, let me buy you a drink, we can go in and, get to know each other. I'm like, are you even old enough to get into the club? But no, I'm good. So we do this like 3 or 4 times. Can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you a drink? No. Finally, his friend comes up and he's like, yo, man, God damn, you always trying to play Captain Save-A-Ho. Now, at first, I was kind of relieved because I was like, all right, this is finally gonna end. Then I realized he just called me a hoe. So I'm like, excuse me? Do you see a hoe anywhere here? And he's like, man, damn, nigga, stop tripping. So it was in that moment, I had like this out-of-body experience. Like my spirit came out of me and stood next to me. And I looked at my spirit and I said, did he just call me a nigga? And my spirit said, yes, he did. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? And my spirit said, bitch, you know what to do. So I went full on west side of Detroit. Who the fuck are you calling a nigga? And he's like, bitch. I'm like, oh, shit. Now I'm a hoe, I'm a nigga, and a bitch. I'm like, bitch, your mom's a bitch, your grandma's a bitch, and you're the biggest bitch out of all of them. And I mean, we are just going back and forth, back and forth. I'm totally embarrassing my parents. They weren't there, but I know I'm totally embarrassing my parents at this point, right? So as it continues, his other friend, there was a third one, the third musketeer, right, walks up. Now this is a black guy. He's dressed in a button-down shirt and chinos. So he reaches into his pocket and he drops money in the middle of the street. And he's like, yo, I give you this $50 if you beat her ass. So I'm like, okay, all right, shit. So I take my earrings off. You know what I mean? Take my shoes off. Cause I'm like, I can beat one Justin Bieber lookalike, but I can't beat 2 and a black guy. So I kind of ground myself in like, okay, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I close my eyes and I just kind of wait for the punch to come for me. But it didn't. Instead, like an angel, out of nowhere, my brother's girlfriend appears. And she's like, hey, sis, looking at me in barefoot in the middle of M Street. Hey, sis, everything okay? No. She's like, oh, okay. So she reaches into her purse and she starts to dig around and she pulls out a pen and she hands it to me. And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Like write all over? I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, well, there's nothing I can do with this. I throw the pen down and I ground myself again and I get ready. And then all of a sudden, my brother and his friends come running down out of the club. And at that very minute, finally, the valet pulls my truck up. So my brother goes, he grabs my shoes, he throws them into the car, he puts me in the car, he closes the door, and he says, go. Do not turn back, just go home. We got this. So I go home. A couple of days later, I call my brother and I'm like, what happened? What happened? And so I'm telling this story, right? And the guy at the bar, once again, he's just like, wow. And I'm like, not sure, like, is he mesmerized or is he terrified? You know, he's like, what do you think happened? And I'm like, I'm not sure. Well, actually I am. I'm pretty sure he kicked their asses. And the guy goes, no, he didn't. Like, the fuck, how do you know? He's like, I know, they didn't. How do you know? Because I am that guy. No! Yeah. No! No, that was me. And so we began to talk a little more, confirming that that was indeed him. And he said, listen, not only did he not kick my ass, but we went around the corner to another bar and we had a long talk. And that talk totally changed my outlook on so many things: race, women, identity. And I was like, wow, I love my brother. So it was that moment then we took our 2 glasses of tequila and we clinked and drank to serendipity, to life-changing conversations, and to improved race relations. Thank you.